Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, my Indianapolis Colts. That's what's it's become. I'm starting to really fall for this football club. 3-2, 2-0 on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3-2, 1-2 at home at Everbank Stadium, Jacksonville, Florida. 74 Fahrenheit, sunny, 11 miles per hour. AOD now. It's great to see you. Let's take a look at the line history here on this one. We have these Colts. Well, we'll start with the total. The total is sitting about 46. It's listed as 46 and a half here, minus 120 to the under at Pinnacle. So it's basically a 46. This did open up at 45 and a half and it climbed. So when it first climbed up to 46 and a half, it was basically a pick 'em. Then the under started getting bet heavily in Indianapolis, Jacksonville. Let's take a look at the spread here for Colts, Jags. We're sitting here with the Jaguars as 4-point favorites. They opened up at 4.5. It's dropped a half point down to 4. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. We have the 85% of the tickets and 98% of the cash on the Colts. That's a lot of money on the Colts. Now, there's just 15,489 tickets in, but it's a lot of money. From a total perspective, 74% of the tickets and 99% of the cash on the under, yet it's climbed up. Sammy Comer says Colts first half +3, fading Jacksonville early off their trip to London. Like the Colts to continue momentum. Minshew revenge game as well. It is a Minshew revenge game. And Nuclear says truth is Minshew better than Richardson. Not in the long run. I wouldn't say that in the long run. Leonard Welch in the house. What up, Leonard? He's on the Colts +4.5. Has that in his pocket. Nate Dogg leaning towards Jacksonville. Markel taking the Colts. Harold Williams early lean Colts. And AOD says Rabanga Minshew. And Slatsy says Jags 2-8 straight up, 1-9 against the spread. Last 10 Florida home games. He grabbed Colts +4.5 today. Rand says the Colts hang around. Terry Walker says the Jags. Colts snapped their 7-game home losing streak with a big 23-16 win at home over the Titans. I'm still angry that I wasn't on it. They lose Anthony Richardson to a shoulder injury. Grade 3 AC joint sprain. He'll be out 3 to 4 weeks, which means it's Minshew time. Richardson was 9 of 12 for 98 yards before he left. Minshew came in, was 11 of 14 for 155 yards. The game was supposed to be highlighted by Jonathan Taylor's return, but the big story was Zach Moss. What a monster. It was a 4th-ranked run defense. He gashed. 23 times he ran for 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught 2 passes for 30 yards, averaged 7.2 yards per carry. And that's his second 100-yard rush game over his last 3. And that's not all. Josh Downs, 3rd-round pick out of North Carolina, best game in the NFL, caught 6 passes for 97 yards. We've been saying anybody who has any interest in the Colts cashing over 6.5 is like, they got to take pressure off of Pittman. How do you take pressure off of Pittman? You need Josh Downs to step up. That's what he's done. And their offense was dynamic. They put up 429 yards of offense. They were 8 of 13 on 3rd down, and they struggled in the red zone. They went 1 of 5, but that's not been an issue this year. Even after that poor performance, they're 16th in the league, converting 56.3 of their red zone opportunities. So don't get too caught up in that. Their defense was strong. They shut down Derrick Henry, holding him to 43 yards on 13 carries. Held the Titans to 1 of 4 in the red zone. Got 8 hits on Tannehill. Sacked him once, but 8 hits. Julian Blackmon had a pick. And they did that without top defensive end Kwity Paye and linebacker Shaquille Leonard, who were all ruled out on Friday. Kwity Paye is still in concussion protocol. I expect him to get out of it. With Shaquille Leonard, I don't know if Shaq Leonard's going to be out there or not, but he's not the same player he was 2 years ago. And I have a vividness bias of him being this ultra important defender, and maybe he's not quite that anymore. Mo Alley Cox, though, their tight end, he entered concussion protocol after the game. So hopefully Kwity Paye's back, but I don't know if Mo Alley Cox will be. The Jaguars return home after a very successful trip to the UK. Saw them defeat the Falcons 23-7 and the Bills 25-20. Against the Bills, the offense looked great, man. 474 total yards. They held on to the ball for 38-12. I mean, that is the recipe if you want to beat the Bills. Keep Allen off the field. They were 10 of 18 on 3rd down. Now, there's a bunch of injuries on the Bills defense, and it's sad for anybody who's got futures on the Bills. Sad. That's the problem with the futures market. Lawrence went 25 of 37 for 315 yards as a touchdown. He did fumble 3 times, losing 2 of them. Calvin Ridley was excellent, caught 7 passes for 122 yards. Kirk caught 6 for 78, and Travis Etienne ran 26 times for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. The defense bent but didn't break, and they held the Bills to just 29 rushing yards. They didn't register a sack, but they hit Josh Allen 6 times. Darius Williams had an interception. So there's a lot of things that are important here. First off, Walker Little is being diagnosed with an MCL sprain. So he's expected to miss a few weeks. He started the first 4 games of the season at left tackle. while Cam Robinson was serving a suspension. Cam Robinson came back, and Little was moved inside, and that was his first career start at left guard on Sunday. And it lasted just 11 snaps before Little left the game with an injury. Through the first 5 games of the season, Little is the Jaguars' highest graded offensive lineman on Pro Football Focus. He's the second highest graded player on the offense behind just Trevor Lawrence. So you're going to have Little out of action. So that means Tyler Shatley and Ben Barch, either or, take over at left guard. Barch started the first 3 games of the season, and he was replaced by Shatley because he wasn't playing well. And then it was Shatley who played the remainder of the game when Little went down. It looks like Zay Jones, regarding his knee injury, it looks like he's day-to-day now. They got good news there. But that is a big loss with Little. And I want to back the Colts so badly, but I don't want my new fandom for Steichen and this football team to get in the way of making a smart bet. So I haven't bet anything yet. Take it away for us here, Troy. We're at Everbank Stadium, Colts, Jags.
Yeah, last week was about as perfect of a spot for the Jags as you can get. And unfortunately, they played them in my contest. I didn't have my hard-earned money on them. But I'm not flipping on my general position with this Jags team yet. My whole thing was shorting the Jags, and I was planning on doing it all season. So that's why I did not bet on the Jags last week, even though I did play them in my contest. But this team is just not what people think it is. The pass rush ranks 29th. They had no sacks last week, only 9 sacks on the season. Offensive line is bottom 5 in the league. They're 25th in both pass and run block. Trevor Lawrence has 3 fumbles, and he's not protecting the ball. Should have cost him the game. I mean, 100%. I'm surprised that they were able to come out with that win after watching him fumble in high leverage spots where they needed points, and they ended up with 0 points on 2 possessions because he fumbled the ball. O-line, they cannot protect him. You could tell he's uncomfortable in the pocket. And can they take advantage of the Colts' weak secondary, taking that into consideration? Because the Colts are able to draw up some pressure. Their defensive line is one of their strong suits on their defense, especially. Their secondary is where they grade out below average. But Trevor Lawrence, I still think, is a top 5 quarterback. I think he actually grades out that way too for PFF purposes. But at the same time, it's like if you can't block for him, now they're losing Little. It's going to be hard to overcome that, in my opinion, because it was an already bad unit. When you look at the Colts, they have some pieces on both sides of the ball. I think it was extremely impressive what they were able to do on the ground against the Titans. Their pass rush, they're top 10 in the NFL in sacks. And this Jags defense grades out as 22nd against the run. I just see mismatches in favor of Indy. Shane Steichen, your love for him and your love for this team. Just, I think about it every week when I'm watching the Colts or rewatching the Colts. I think about how high you thought of this guy. And looking at this Eagles offense, how could you deny what he was to that team and what he is to this Colts team? Indy, top half of the NFL, 16th, like Jimmy said, in the red zone. Last year, this team was 30th in the NFL. Yards per game, 12th in the NFL. Last year, 27th. My only hesitation with the Colts is that, their strength of schedule is kind of weak so far, 26th graded in the NFL so far. But the market sentiment's kind of flipping with these two teams. I feel like you've seen a lot of public action on the Jags for the most part throughout these first few weeks until last week when the public was on the Bills and they got crushed. And I still think this just kind of confusing me a little bit because now I feel like the Colts are starting to become more of a public team. People are starting to gravitate towards this Indianapolis team. But I think that this team is just catching points. It's too much to pass up. They have revenge from week 1, and the line functionality suggests a lot of strength towards the Colts, in my opinion. At home in week 1, they're plus 4.5. They lose. They don't cover. Now on the road, they're plus 4.5 again. They're going to dominate the line of scrimmage, I think, offensively and defensively. Jags as home favorites the past 2.5 years, 0-5 ATS as a home favorite. And now they're coming back from 2 games in London. I feel like this is almost a perfect spot. I'm heavily thinking, I already bet the Colts plus 4.5, and I'm going to have more than one bet on this game when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I also think if this moves, it feels like it's slowly moving to the over. And if that's the case, Colts team total over 20.5. Now, at this point, 74% of the tickets and 99% of cash is on the under. I need to sit with that. I mean, the market isn't showing any concern of these big bets on the under. Rod Zawacki says Jags have covered 8 straight versus the Colts, and everybody and his mama on the Colts. Jags roll -6.5. Spenny Pennybomb saying that the issue is the Colts secondary. That's being the issue here, and that Kirk and Ridley are going to eat. I want to bet the Colts, and I would like to bet their team total over. I would like both of those spots here at 20.
The secondary, I agree. The secondary is a cause for concern in this game. But once you get in that red zone and that field shrinks heavily, are they going to be able to put the ball in the end zone? And I think the Colts have done a pretty good job keeping people out of the end zone so far.
85% of the tickets and 98% of cash. That's not a side that I would like to be on. I'm a little surprised right now that so much money. That the public is going to come in who've seen the Jags win 2 weeks in a row. You expect that to be it.
And that's the thing. I don't think the public is betting these games on Tuesday, on Monday. I don't think those are public tickets. The vast majority, I would say, are not. I know none of my boys are betting the games. They're not betting till Sunday, right? It's bankroll. They only have a finite bankroll, and they're betting things every day.
Rod Zawacki says, didn't Atlanta win coming back from London? They did. Birdie says this is sharp action. All right. I can understand Rod's sentiment, but I do feel like this is the spot to sell the Jaguars high. And I want the Colts and the Colts team total over. I wonder if I need more time to sit with it. And then all this money that's being bet on the under, I wonder if that is, look, Pinnacle moved it up a point, so I shouldn't be too concerned. Right now, Troy is already on the Colts +4.5, and I would like to have them at 4, and I would like to have the Colts team total over as well. Okay, that is Colts, Jags. Let's move on.